So what happened is Radio Oxford got me in really early on a morning, earlier than I'm a poet. I have a poet's timetable, you know what I mean? I go to sleep at somewhere around 1 or 2 and generally wake up naturally because I have to preserve my poetic genius. So when I have to set an alarm for 6:30 in the morning, I'm not in a good mood. So they got me down to do a poem live on air about a subject, and the subject was Bicester Village. You know Bicester Village? Bicester Village is the... this is a fact for you that will please you and alarm you. Aside from Cambridge, Bicester Village is the most visited tourist place outside of London. Bicester Village is like a scene from Red Dwarf. It is weirdly false, and it's where people from the Far East fly over to the middle class of China, basically, fly over and get cheaper branded clothes made by slaves in their own country to fly them back home again. It's a bizarre freakonomic. And Bicester Village had decided to... that year to not do Black Friday. Ooh, not doing Black Friday because of all the carnage. Remember all the press that was back in 2014 where people were, trampling all over one and each other. So the presenter, usual sort of local radio. So you're a poet, how do you make a living out of that? And I, explained that I eke a living for many years. And my dad would always start a phone conversation with, "So are you earning a crust, son?" Like he didn't believe that, it was a valid profession. So that explains some of the lines in here. So this is as was written in 20 minutes on that day in just a caveat that in case you think it's shit. You know what I mean? It's never been read out in front of an audience. It's a first. Clogging up the roads, arteries blocked, the flow stops like black pudding. A coagulating disease, perspective lost, counting the reducing cost, like the Black Death. Bring out your dead, don't let it spread. Bicester starts a revolution like the Black Panthers. But from Lanarkshire to Hampshire, the cheap things shine at the end of the week. The roads will be rocked before the Black Sabbath. A poet carves verse about the bargain basement. This is the death of entertainment. Like black lace. People old enough to get that reference, I'm glad. The poetry equivalent of Agadoo. I'm sorry, Dad, it's what I do. And what's worse, Black Friday doesn't even work. It's bust and boom before the inevitable absurd advertising chorus of "Have a Merry Christmas" with B&Q. Black Friday, a short-termism spawning, global warming causing, treading on your neighbour's head, a 4x4 on Santa's sled, pushing a pensioner to her knees for a few quid off, a cheap TV, shopping day, pandering to wanton greed. Meanwhile, children in need. Thank you. Thanks.